The What If series is a comic book anthology debuting in 1977 that explores how the Marvel Universe would have unfolded if some key moments in history did not happen as they did indeed happen in the mainstream continuity. There have been 14 such volumes published, along with occasional standalone issues. In 2024, Marvel announced that the series was coming back again. An animated series based on the What If comics premiered on Disney Plus in 2021. In this marvelous video, we explore the story of what would have happened if Cable's actions had destroyed the X-Men, published in 1993, in the 46th issue of the second volume. This is part 1 of the story, whose part 2 continues in the next issue titled, What If Magneto Took Over the USA? We hope you enjoy it! Before we go on to our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Synopsis. Professor X is enjoying a meal with Cyclops and Marvel Girl, contemplating Hank joining the Avengers once again, for positive public visibility, when suddenly a device with an agonizing noise enters the picture. This noise was a constantly changing sonic frequency that prevented them from using their mental powers. Suddenly, a second projectile quickly comes to rest at Cyclops' feet, exploding and killing all 3 of them. The Watcher then appears and takes us through the story of what exactly happened in this alternate reality, taking us back through time. Before that, we see a fleeing Cable, insinuating that it was him who was responsible for the explosion. In this alternate reality years ago, Professor X was captured by the alien Skrulls and used as a weapon against the Shi'ar Empire of Lilandra. He managed to escape and return to Earth, only to find the X-Men in dire straits. Havoc had fallen victim to Genosian brainwashing, while Dazzler and Colossus had become amnesiacs. Meanwhile, Strife had infiltrated the minds of those on Muir Island, forming bands of mutant terrorists. The X-Mansion lay nearly destroyed, with Rogue and Longshot missing, and Storm regressing to her childhood state. The once proud X-Men found themselves forced to huddle in an underground ruin, leaving Professor X enraged that his legacy had not been protected. Some members, including Wolverine, Jubilee, and Psylocke, openly disagreed with Professor X's criticisms, pointing out that he had been absent during these tumultuous times and was not present to pick up the pieces. Professor X continues his tirade, saying that the X-Men have not been able to uphold in his absence, allowing their enemies to paint them as villains with no concrete action being taken to stop them. He asks the X-Men if they're blind to the situation, that for every damaging act caused by mutants, they should have immediately and dramatically done something to help them without fail, to stay in their good graces. According to Professor X, the X-Men have let themselves slip so backward that recovery may not be possible. A lot of the mutants present there grumbled among themselves at Professor X's criticisms, because they were not sitting idly at the situation twiddling their thumbs, and that they had tried their best to help. Drake and Wolverine mentioned that they would have liked to see Professor X do better instead of being a jerk and complaining. No one, however, steps forward to challenge him directly, until Cable comes in and tells Professor X that he's speaking bullshit. Cable cannot stand the hysterically appeasing nature of Professor X, and says that it's high time that they ceased acting like humanity's pets and took a stand for themselves. Hearing this, Professor X is indignant, and tells Cable that he considers him as much a menace as Magneto ever was, and that every time he takes public action, the mutant cause is set back by decades. He's so mad that he proceeds to revoke Cable's stewardship of the New Mutants, effective immediately. This takes most of the mutants there aback, especially the New Mutants group, who declare that they were going to stand by Cable because he stood by them when both the X-Men and X-Factor had abandoned them. Upon hearing this, Professor X gets even more enraged and instructs the X-Men to make Cable surrender by force if necessary, and that there's no time to create a divided front. This is the last straw for Cable, as he and the New Mutants embark on the mutiny and clash with the X-Men. The battle begins, and although the X-Men are numerically superior, they hold back against the New Mutants, either due to their unwillingness to harm their friends or even sympathy towards their position. The New Mutants decided to retreat into the Morlock tunnels, but as a last resort, Professor X tries to telepathically enter Cable's mind and shut it down, but Cable successfully resists him. Professor X then tells Cable that he will make it his priority to track Cable down and free the New Mutants from his influence. The last thing Cable says before fleeing is that if Professor X wanted a war, he surely has one on his hands now. Cable strategizes that the logical thing to do when facing an outnumbering enemy is to create confusion in their ranks, and he exclaims that he knows just how to do that. Coming back to the present arc of the story, after conducting the well-attended funeral of Professor X, Cyclops, and Marvel Girl, the X-Men are discussing how to proceed. Wolverine, who heard on the news that it was Cable who killed them, wants to find and kill him. However, Storm disagrees with Wolverine and says that it is not what either of the deceased would want. They would surely not want bloodshed in their names. They must make Cable pay, but not kill him, out of justice, but not vengeance. Archangel, however, agrees with Wolverine, while Beast is in line with Storm's decision because murder would never be Professor X's his way. Thus, two camps are formed, one with the mutants siding with Storm, which included Beast, Nightcrawler, Colossus, Forge, and Polaris, among others, and the other camp siding with Wolverine, which included Archangel, Havoc, Iceman, Jubilee, and Psylocke. Among others, Wolverine's camp leaves, saying that they will return only when they're finished hunting down and killing Cable. Sensing this opportunity, the evil enemies of the X-Men decide to launch attacks all across the board. Storm's camp is busy fending off a Genosian incursion into US territory, eventually losing Banshee and Megan, while Apocalypse's team gets into a winning tussle with the Avengers. Elsewhere in Manhattan, the mutant terrorists Fenris strike, killing innocent humans who inevitably turn on all mutants, even the innocent ones. Zaladane from Savage Land also takes this opportunity to expand her empire and launch an attack. In the streets of New York, Strife and his group sentence the Fantastic Four to death and attack them with full force. The Freedom Force attacks the Morlocks with impunity. The governments of France, Egypt, and Colombia become destabilized by anti-mutant rioting, prompting the externals to carve out a plan of violence. In this rampant spread of evil, the Shadow King, Sebastian Shaw, and Mr. Sinister all widen their ambitions and seek to take advantage. In the meantime, Wolverine's group, with the help of Mini Cerebro, tracks the location of Cable and the New Mutants, invading their base. Wolverine and Cable get into a one-on-one battle, and after being evenly matched for a while, Wolverine manages to kill Cable, who, before dying, cryptically says that the X-Men are paying the price. As this is happening, Storm's group, along with heroes like Siren and Captain Britain, fend off the Mutant Liberation Front at the X-Mansion. However, Zaladane's army appears, putting them under a lot of pressure, which mounts even further when Fenris arrives on the scene, as does the Hellfire Club. The superheroes are besieged from all sides, and having valiantly fought continuously for many weeks now, they're finally overpowered. Beast is blasted into atoms by Fenris, Nightcrawler gets blasted thanks to Gaza's psychic sense, and Zaladane drains the life energy out of Polaris. It is at this point that Storm orders everyone to retreat, not wanting to sacrifice any more lives. The X-Mansion is blown up, and Storm, standing somewhere nearby, prays for a new leader to emerge, who will unite the race and ensure the survival of the mutants. In the end, we see Magneto preparing to do just that. Marvelous Verdict. Part 2 of this exciting story continues in the next issue, with Magneto uniting Earth's mutant villains as well as many of the mutant superheroes. Storm and Wolverine are ready to convince him otherwise, or stop him as he tries to take over the US. But the activation of an armada of Sentinels by the President of the US complicates things a whole lot. A huge war will break out, which is going to involve a nuclear bomb as well. We will see many of our mutant and non-mutant heroes die and get captured, with only some surviving and the future uncertain. What will happen? We're excited to find out too. Let us know in the comments if you want a video of the concluding part. Till then, see you later, Marvelous fans. Stay safe and heroic.
You say Wolverine, but you'll lose. Wanna